Here's 5 talking points from Manchester United's 3-3 draw with Galatasaray last night. First and foremost, we have to talk about Andre Onana. And look, I mean, you just cannot expect to win games when you're making individual errors like that. He's cost us an awful lot of points in this Champions League. I don't like singling out players in particular because it is a team sport and you got to stay collective, but Andre Onana has basically been the reason why we haven't qualified out of this group. Soft goals given away against basically every team we've played, in every game we've played. Now, he did make the save in the final minutes against Copenhagen, but yeah, I mean, he cost us points against Bayern Munich. He cost us points against Galatasaray, both games as well. It's a hard one with Onana because I've been singing his praises like a lot of Manchester United fans have been the last few weeks on the back of a really poor start to his Manchester United career. He seemed to have turned a corner, but he throws it all away in the space of 90 minutes, all of the good and positive, I suppose, talk that's been going on around him. He seems to make small saves look really difficult, like the second goal last night. Okay, he might have seen it late, but he could have easily kicked that away with his foot, palm it away, but yet he's trying to make this big acrobatic save when a simple one will do. I've heard some people say that it wasn't his fault for the first one, that the ball went through the wall. I completely disagree. I think it was a tame shot. There wasn't much power behind it. And he takes a step to the left before the ball is kicked. You have to trust your wall in them situations, in my opinion. And I think the fact that he didn't, I mean, the ball is basically passed into the net on his side, and I think it's not good enough. I'm not going to be too quick to say Onana out or anything like this. And a lot of people I've seen in the past 12 hours or so have been saying, De Gea should have never left and so on and so forth. People have short memories. David De Gea basically handed Man City a treble last season, and the game he played against Sevilla was atrocious. West Ham, David De Gea is not the solution either. He really isn't, and I think his time at Manchester United was up. I do probably agree that there was more pressing areas of the field that we should have focused on, but David De Gea was not the type of goalkeeper to take Manchester United forward either. Whether Onana is or not, that remains to be seen in the future, but he really, really needs to stop these mistakes because he's going to cost us not only in the Champions League, but in any other competition that we're in this season. Now, next up, game management. And look, while you can, and I am putting down the not getting 3 points last night to Onana, we do have to be better when it comes to game management. We've seen it so many times this season, and even last season as well, to a certain extent. Last season wasn't as bad as this season, but we're not controlling games, especially when we take a lead. We actually look most vulnerable when we score, and it's not good enough. It really isn't. Is it down to leadership on the pitch? I think that probably has a big part to play with it. We have to be more solid and more resolute when we score and when we take a lead. Great teams down through the years, or any team that you would see basically that has gone on to win the league, has, grinded out results and been hard to beat at times. We've seen Manchester United do it over the years, 1-0 wins, scraping results and getting out of a game with a 1-0 win and taking it and running. Man City do it an awful lot. Arsenal are starting to do it as well. They're starting to, grind out results, 1-0 wins. But there's no excuse for Manchester United being 2 goals up twice last night and not being able to see the game out. And again, I do know it's in individual errors from Onana. However, it was like a game of basketball. It was end to end. And I said it so many times last night on the watch along that, we can't play to Galatasaray's tempo and pace because they want a 100-mile-an-hour game, and we shouldn't be giving them that. We should be putting our foot in the ball. We should be slowing the tempo down. We should be keeping possession as much as possible, pinning them back, in their own final third. But we didn't do that, and that is down to game management. I thought we didn't play out from the defence. I think we defended really well, but I don't think we played out from the back particularly well. I think we went long too many times with it, even when we were winning last night. And I think that's a major concern and something that we do have to look at going forward. Because if we don't start managing games, especially when we're leading, then we're not going to win an awful lot. And we're going to throw away an awful lot more leads. Because when you do take the lead, that's the hard part. You've done the hard work to actually get a goal and take the lead. We need characters and we need brains on the pitch to say, no, let's keep it tight. You stay there. Don't fucking go forward for the next few minutes. Let's see how the next 5 or 10 minutes plays out, and let's control the game and get on the ball. We're not doing it. We need to do it more. Now, next up, squad depth. And again, I don't want to be making an awful lot of excuses, because there isn't any excuses after last night's performance. I actually thought we played relatively well last night. Again, individual errors. Now, squad depth is a major issue for Manchester United at the moment. When we see the substitutions that we made last night, you know, you're bringing on Pellistri for Garnacho. Now, while Pellistri has raw ability, he really does. He's not the finished article. And I think it showed last night. He had a couple of chances where he could have scored late on. And you put a more experienced player there at that time. Like, I think if you have, and I know Marcus Rashford was suspended, but if you have Marcus Rashford there coming off for Garnacho or vice versa, and they get them opportunities that Pellistri got last night, I think we win that game. You're bringing on Kobbie Mainoo for Amrabat, and I think that, you know, I think he looked the more comfortable when he came on. You know, you're bringing on Anthony Martial for Rasmus Højlund. Anthony Martial looked like a hot air balloon, just floated around when he came on. Didn't do an awful lot. Again, missed a big opportunity when the ball fell to his left foot. Tried to turn back onto his right when he should have shot first time. Squad depth is not there at the moment. It really isn't. And I think even when we've got all of our players back, I think we are going to struggle with squad depth. We're missing Casemiro, we're missing Martinez, and obviously we missed Rashford to suspension last night. But outside of that, we've basically got, you know, a full plethora of players available. So I don't think the squad depth is there, and I think we are going to struggle with it. I think we do need to go into the transfer market in January. It's always difficult to do deals in January, but we need to get some players in, because I think we will continue to struggle with the squad depth that we've got. It looks like some players are going to leave potentially in in January. Varane, a lot of talks of him leaving. We know the situation with Sancho. He's not coming back, and rightly so. So we are going to have to go into the market in January if we can, and let's hope the money is there. Now, next up, defensive record, and it's just not good enough. Our defensive record in the Champions League this season has not been good enough. Look, we've talked about Onana enough. We know the individual errors he's made, but we've conceded too many goals. If you look at, you know, the fixtures that we have, we conceded 4 to Bayern Munich away. We conceded 3 to Galatasaray at home. We conceded 4 to Copenhagen away. And we conceded another 3 last night to Galatasaray. We've conceded more goals in a group stage of the Champions League than any team in the history of the competition. And that is not a record you want to have. It's just not good enough defensively. And what makes it even more frustrating is that you look at the goals we've scored. We scored 3 goals against Bayern Munich. We scored 2 against Galatasaray. We scored 3 against Copenhagen away, and we scored 3 against Galatasaray away last night. Now, if you're scoring 3 goals against Bayern Munich away, if you're scoring 2 goals against Galatasaray at home, if you're scoring 3 goals against Copenhagen away, and if you're scoring 3 goals against Galatasaray away, you expect to win every one of them games. It's as simple as that. Our defensive record is just not good enough, and it has to change. Again, a lot of it is down to individual error, but it's a collective, and defensively, it's night and day to what we've seen last year. Our defensive record last year was really good, and it gave us the platform to go on and have a relatively successful season, winning a trophy and getting top 4. That is not the case this season. In the Champions League, we are scoring a lot of goals. We are scoring a lot of goals, but we're conceding too many. So it's like a flip of last season. It's turned on its head. there is positives to take from it. The fact that we are starting to create a lot of chances and score good goals as well. I mean, Bruno's world-class goal last night, absolutely, but it wasn't my favourite. The other two is probably my least favourite. The other two, Garnacho's goal was a really work goal. There was 4 or 5 players involved in the build-up play on the right-hand side, worked the ball across, and it was a really good finish. And similarly enough, up the right-hand side for Scott McTominay's goal, it was well worked between 2 or 3 players. We're starting to score some good goals. We have to stop conceding. Now, we've had some relative success in the Premier League in the past few games where we've kept some good clean sheets. But we tend to, I can't put my finger on it, we tend to score a lot when we concede a lot. And we tend to score few when we don't concede. I just can't put my finger on it. But it goes back to I suppose, the original point. If you don't concede goals, you give yourself the opportunity to go on and win games. We have to stop conceding. Now, what's the solution? Because look at Harry Maguire, for example. He's been playing really well. He's actually nominated for Premier League Player of the Month this year, and rightly so. He's been playing really well. Again, I think I have to go back in the Premier League. In the Champions League. I have to go back and say it's been individual errors because we've actually, I think collectively, we haven't been playing too bad lately. It's just individual errors, it really, really is. And if we can cut these individual errors out, it'll give us a much better chance to go on and win games. Now, last but not least, Champions League is done. Champions League is over, in my opinion. Look, mathematically and technically, we can still qualify. We have to beat Bayern Munich in the final match day and hope that Galatasaray and Copenhagen draw. If that's the case, we will finish second. If there is a winner in the Galatasaray and Copenhagen game, it doesn't matter what the result is against Bayern Munich in Old Trafford. We are out. Now, more importantly, obviously the most important thing is trying to finish second. But if we don't, more importantly, I do not want to go into the Europa League. I just don't. Again, I mean, if we do go into the Europa League, it's more games for Manchester United. From a fan standpoint, that's always great because you want to see your team play as much as possible. And for the channel here, it's great because we get to do more lives and the channel grows and so on and so forth. But I think we have to look at the longer picture here. And I think if Ten Hag is going to be the long-term option for Manchester United, I think not being in the Europa League is a good thing. It gives you 7 days, basically. You play 1 game a week for the majority of the remainder of the season. That allows Ten Hag to have 7 days. Oh, the sun is coming in through the window. Give me 1 second. So yeah, what it does is it gives Ten Hag 7 days, basically, in between each game to get his players on the training ground. He's had 1 season so far, 1 full season so far with United. And we basically played a game every 3 days for the entirety of that season because the World Cup was in the middle of the season. So the time that Ten Hag has actually spent on the training ground with his players has been quite minimal due to the fact that we basically went, I think we could have only played an extra 2 games last season in total because we got knocked out of the semi-final of the Europa League. So I think if we can get a break of 7 days in between each game, basically 1 game a week, it would allow Ten Hag to get the players on the training ground and really start to implement his mindset on what way he wants the team to play. Because if you're playing a game every 3 days, you play on a Sunday and let's say you're playing on a Wednesday, okay? So you play Sunday, you recover Monday, you probably train Tuesday, but a lot of that would be preparation towards the game on Wednesday. Or if you're travelling away, then you're travelling, on the Tuesday. So the time on the training ground to implement your ideas and your tactics is very, very limited when you're playing a game every 3 days. You stretch that out to 7 days. You play on a Sunday. You've got Monday to recover. Then you go Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You're implementing the way Ten Hag wants us to play. And I think we would see a drastic improvement in how we set up, in how we play, in the players' technical abilities and how they implement the way the manager wants us to play. So if we do not qualify for the Champions League, to hell with the Europa League. I do not want it. Let's spend the next 6 months on the training ground as much as possible, and I think we'll see a drastic increase in the levels of ability and the quality of play and how Ten Hag actually wants us to play. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, guys. Obviously, desperately disappointing game last night for our Champions League hopes. But look, I suppose the clock doesn't stop. We move on. We've got Newcastle away now on Saturday night, which is a massively important game as well, especially for our top 4 hopes. Newcastle are in around the same area as is in the league. So big 3 points needed there as well if we can. Keep an eye out. We will be doing the match preview tomorrow for that as well. And of course, we will be live for the game Saturday night, so tune in for that as well. Please do smash a like on the video. Hit subscribe if you're new to the channel, and I'll catch you soon.